time once again to launch ourselves and go out to the other coast of the United States of America, out to the West Coast, out to Hollywood, California, where we find Michael Snyder sitting there ready to tell us what's happening with all the wonderful entertainment that's coming our way. Hello, Michael.
Boy, I wish I could be more positive. No, we've got some good movies here coming out this weekend, or at least entertainment is on tap. Let's kick it off with The Invisible Man. Is it a classic? Well, it's a remake. Is it clever, creepy, and effective as an update of a classic horror movie, one with a sci-fi bent? Yes, it is. With a canny acknowledgement of the hashtag Me Too era, and with Elizabeth Moss on board. She's an actress of great skill and the lead victim of the title character in The Invisible Man. This latest reboot of a time-honored Universal Studios monster property is the best in their recent attempts to do so, considering their misfires at resurrecting the Mummy and Dracula. Yeah, The Invisible Man is more like it. Cecilia, played by Moss to a T, is a virtual prisoner in a demeaning, controlling relationship with a wealthy Bay Area scientist. She can't even leave the home they share, which is kind of this walled beachfront citadel. But if she tries, it arouses his suspicion. So she does her best to get free of this bastard, helped by her sister and a family friend who's a cop and single dad and has a bright teenage daughter. They will all factor in later. Still, the liberated Cecilia is always looking over her shoulder, so when she gets word that her tormentor has committed suicide and left her not his entire estate, but lots of money with a few stipulations, she ought to be relieved. But paranoia and what seems like paranormal, that all strike her down. Other than the obvious contributions of Moss, who's on screen more than anyone else here, at least visually speaking, the success is largely due to the skills brought to bear by director-screenwriter Lee Whannell, who's the down-under genre movie phenom, best known for his Saw movies. This puts Whannell on another level, one above the gory B-movie lunacy of Saw, and I thought it was great stuff as a bargain matinee. It's not a world changer, but at least I feel like Universal's moving in the right direction with their adaptations of the old monster properties. Okay, British actors have long taken to playing American Southerners as far back as Laurence Olivier. Maybe the accent is easier? I don't know. In any case, two favorite UK thespians from very different generations, old-hand character actor Tom Wilkinson and versatile young actress Andrea Riseborough, do a fine job playing rural South Carolina characters in a very earnest, by-the-book docudrama called Burden. But the movie, based on a true event, really belongs to Garrett Hedlund and Forrest Whitaker, and they're very, very good. And the setting is this small South Carolina town in the 1990s where local white supremacists are about to open a museum dedicated to the Ku Klux Klan, and this is much to the chagrin of the local black population. Hedlund plays troubled Mike Burden, a white, less-than-working-class guy of little means whose identity and worth are tied up in membership in the KKK and also the fellowship, if you can call it that he gets from his fellow Klansmen, these clucks, if you will. Whitaker is Reverend Kennedy, a black Baptist preacher on the other side of a racial divide that he'd like to surmount with Christian love, despite the Klan having a lot of local power. The tipping point is this KKK museum. Burden falls for Riseborough's Judy, a decent single mom with a young son whose best friend is a young black boy, and begins to question his beliefs, which are largely gained from his boss and father figure, Wilkinson's Tom Griffin, local KKK Kleagle or whatever that is. Anyway, the guy's in charge of cross burnings and such. Drama in the form of alienation and strife ensues. The writer-director Andrew Heckler hasn't reinvented the wheel here, but there's a lovely redemptive message and a general execution of the account, and that's worthwhile. Again, this is not a must-see, and I got to tell you, the only truly false note for me was the crappy job giving Whitaker a bald head for his role as the Reverend. Use a bald cap or shave closer. There's like crown stubble, way too evident in daytime shots. But that aside, nice going here. And again, this movie Burden means well and seems to have a lot of heart behind it. Fun, frenzy, and another freaky deaky part for Harry Potter himself, Mark Guns Akimbo. a wild cautionary fantasy set in the fairly near future. Yeah, Hogwarts and England's own Daniel Radcliffe is in the middle of this bloody action-packed tale when his character, the mild-mannered American video game developer Miles, is inadvertently drawn into a violent, super popular, and seemingly never-ending live-streamed death match against Nyx, who's a resourceful, cold-hearted young woman and has heretofore defeated all comers. And Miles can't escape his fate here. The villains behind the match have targeted him for his online snark about the game, and their evil ministrations, which I will not spoil here, force him to participate in a most disturbing way. Nyx is played by Samara Weaving, the Aussie ingenue, and she's tough as nails. This is written and directed by Jason Lee Howden, and Guns Akimbo ain't for your grandma. But if you like online RPG or high-octane, out-of-control shoot-em-ups that propel you forward like dancing bazooka missiles, it should entertain you for a taut hour and a half. Okay, maybe I'm a voice in the wilderness here, but I really, really enjoyed Greed. It's very much in my wheelhouse. It's a smart, scathing, brutally funny, no-holds-barred takedown of the wealthy and the heedless in our celebrity-obsessed culture. Steve Coogan, who you may know from many, many other films, including the recent Stan and Ollie, where he played Stan Laurel. He's perfectly vile and painfully funny as Richard McCreedle, a sleazy fashion industry billionaire who decides to throw himself an exclusive, opulent 60th birthday party on the Greek island of Mykonos, and certain chickens come home to roost. McCreedle's daughter, son, mother, girlfriend, and an ex-wife are on board, and in addition to attending the party, the daughter and her boyfriend are being followed by a camera crew for their crappy reality TV show. By the way, McCreedle's, I guess the ex is played by Isla Fisher. His mother is played by Shirley Henderson, and the designated journalist covering the event is played by Peep Show's David Mitchell, all of whom are in top form, as is director Michael Winterbottom, who was Coogan's collaborator for the now classic rock and roll docu-comedy 24-Hour Party People. Greed is more mean than funny and not quite as good as 24-Hour, but its targets deserve both barrels, and I laughed. Just briefly, I was very disappointed by Wendy, which is Ben Zeitlin's dreamy attempt to reimagine Peter Pan. This is the guy who did Beast of the Southern Wild, and I'm sad to say I found Wendy disappointing and dull despite some lovely imagery. He tried to update the story, set it in the Deep South. Wish it had been better. The kids are good, as Wendy, Peter, and all the rest. What are you watching, buddy?
Well, I slogged through Hunters.
The thing with Al Pacino, right?
Yeah. It's not very good. It's not very good at all. There are moments that take place in the concentration camps which are kind of get you a little bit, but the basic overall plot and Pacino, man. I mean, Pacino's just hit the bottom of his career. Really,
he did good work in The Irishman, but this is like a tanker, huh?
Yeah, if you watch the whole thing, you're going to not feel disappointed in the time spent. But this is the kind of thing. You know what they do? They do these shows which they want you to binge watch, and they make them 10 episodes when they could all be told in about 2 or 3.
Remember movies? They were 2 hours long.
Yeah, I mean, they can do these in 2 or 3. I mean, all they're doing is just doing something that stretches your time out, not compressing a plot and making it really good. This thing probably would have been a hell of a lot better if they'd done it in 8 episodes, and they probably would have been even better if they'd done it in 6.
Hey, so the basic premise is these are Nazi hunters working in the recent past. Is that it?
Yeah. Recent past. I'm trying to think when was the time period. Now I'm starting to lose it all. It's kind of a mythic time. I mean, it's one of those.
Hey, we'll always want to hunt Nazis. Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when they did. I'm so tired right now that I can't remember exactly what time period it was, but I think it was maybe like the 70s or 80s.
That was a prime Nazi hunting period. I think you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, all right. I'm not going to check that out. I'm still deep into Picard. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but that's only one episode at a time. Don't be a sissy. Binge watch something.
Oh, fine. All right. I'll get on board. Anyway, that's about it, I guess. There's a band documentary called Once Were Brothers. People might like if they're into that kind of music stuff. But you can catch me on Twitter at Culture Blaster, and on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and happily here at GABNet, baby.
And whoops, I almost started the wrong theme. In fact, I did, but now I'm playing the right one. Listen, there's more GABNet coming right up if you're listening to us 24/7. Thank you, Michael. We'll see you next week.